Good morning and welcome to our vulnerable community. Jerome Irwin will be joining us just a little later, but right now we have Shirley James and Dr. Pat Harris here to discuss a very hot topic currently, right now, during this presidential election. We're talking about how they can gain attraction to get the support of the black voters. Last election, 2020, Biden took 86% of the black vote. So we are going to kind of discuss some things of how he can do that, understanding that Georgia is a battleground state and was one of the states that he took. And also maybe even talking about a little bit of North Carolina and seeing how he can galvanize that area as well. So, uh, with Dr. Harris, I know you've been attentively watching. How do you feel about the Democrat uh, how they can galvanize the black vote? Do you think that we're going to be able to get the black vote where Biden will win this time? Is she?
Well, I think the black vote is crucial to this election in particular. And I do believe that we are able to galvanize, we are able to come together, but we have to do it together. And we can't stay home. We can't talk about it. We can't just watch the news. We have to get out into our communities, our vulnerable communities, make sure people are actually registered to vote. If they are not registered to vote, we need to make sure that we are doing everything possible
Mm-hmm.
to encourage them and help them to understand the importance of their vote and just keep it moving. We are in a critical time right now, and I think that we need all hands on deck.
Yes, agree. What about you, Mrs. James? How what?
Well, of course, I concur with Dr. Harris. We have been working together for some time now, through the various organizations that we represent, as well as a wonderful organization that we both belong to together, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And I work with the Social Action Committee, where she is our chairman. I also work with the Social Action Committee at my church, at St. Philip AME Church. In fact, I chair that particular committee there. And when we talk about galvanizing and encouraging the Black vote for this election that is coming up, we're at an emergency state
Yes, ma'am.
in this country. Emergency is critical. I don't think that the understanding is there in reference to our people knowing what the outcome of this election can be on their personal lives.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I think one of the most important messages that we have to get out in our community is
So
to get.
what would that be, Mrs. James? I'm sorry for interrupting, but just kind of since you started that, I'm an organizer and I'm on the ground most of the time. So how do I? What am I going to say? Give me that pitch.
Well, I think the pitch is, um, do you want your individual rights taken away from you?
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about whether we want to maintain this representative democracy that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And we've taken for granted for a long time the rights and privileges that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the understanding is there at this point that it can be lost within a few months, within a few days, like right after November the 5th. They can be gone definitely by January when the elections are supposed to be certified,
Mm-hmm.
in the Congress. And I say supposed because you have so many election deniers who are in state representatives, state senators, who are in state legislators
Mm-hmm.
that are passing laws that are
Mm-hmm.
actually more suppressive than they were as a result of the 2020 election. We showed up. We showed out. We did everything we were supposed to do from a legal standpoint, according to the state. And I'm just going to take the state of Georgia. But once the election results returned with who won the presidency, we now have two senators, U.S. senators in the state of Georgia for the first time, an African American and a person of Jewish descent. Those are things that were never supposed to happen in the state of Georgia. So as a result, there are so many bills that have passed in the Georgia legislature now that are discouraging and that are putting more burden not only on the voter, but also on our board of registrars. And the state is passing all of these laws, but they're not assisting with any kind of financial resources to help. And when you look at a bill right now, and there's so many, if you really look, this is the last week of the state legislature in Georgia, but there's so many bills on the books right now that if they pass them this week, we'll talk a little bit more about what could possibly happen.
Okay, well, joining us, we have Wanda Mosley as well. She just joined us. So we're talking about how to galvanize the Black vote to make it the advantage of the Democrats. So what can Biden do to galvanize that Black vote? Because he's going to have to do a little more work than 2020.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
But I am here. I definitely want to pause and give a special hello to my amazing sorority sister. Hello, Soror James. It's so good to
Hello. And Soror Pat Harris is your sorority sister as well.
Hello, Soror Pat Harris. It's nice to meet you. And hello to our guest, our host, excuse me.
Nice
good morning.
Yeah,
so let's talk about galvanizing the Black vote. I mean, listen, Soror James will tell you, in 2020, the secret to our success for the general election and then again for the Senate runoff race was focusing on the issues, focusing on what people in the community, what voters told us was important to them. We do this thing at Black Voters Matter with all our partners that we call issue mining, where we basically set up a phone bank and where we call people, we call Black voters, and we listen and hear from them what is important. We don't talk about voting. We don't talk about the election. We don't ask folks if they're registered to vote. Why? Because that's not important. What's important is that people believe that their issues are being heard and affirmed. Whatever it is that they tell, or as my grandmother would say, whatsoever it is you tell me is important, then that's important. But also, those of us who spend time doing work in civic engagement, we know we can attach any issue to an elected official, an appointed official, a seat, and that's how we bring people into this franchise called civic engagement, right? We know that trying to shame folks into voting is not the way. Yes, it is true that so many people fought and died for us to have this right to vote, which should be afforded to us as citizens of this country, but has been denied at every turn. We know that to be true, but we also have to remember, especially with a lot of these young people, that during the pandemic, millions of people sadly watched George Floyd die on a Facebook Live. And so they see their friends, their neighbors, their cousins die regularly. Black death is at an all-time high. And so trying to use that as a reason, people saying that that's why people need to vote, that's not working. They want to talk about housing, right? They want to talk about student loan debt. Young people want to talk about the environment. People want to talk about healthcare. People want to talk about a livable wage. And once we start to unravel and explain that all of those things, even the potholes on your street, right? Even that traffic light that don't work because you can't make that left turn trying to get to work every morning on time. We can trace all of those things back to elected officials. And once we are able to find the thing or the things that are going to motivate somebody to vote, well, we got somebody who's all in. And we don't have to come back every year and remind them that somebody fought and died for them to have the right to vote. They're going to continue to be invested because they can see what they are going to get for this investment.
Right. So, what I wanted to kind of go in, since you said all of that, it sounds like those issues create kind of platform things that the president can work towards. So, looking at Biden's platform, have you seen his platform or not?
You talking to me specifically?
Uh, either either
Oh,
one of you,
sorry.
have anyone seen Biden's platform?
Well, I haven't necessarily seen it, but you hear about various things that are on his platform.
Mm-hmm.
And I think number one on his platform is trying to, how do you say, rescue or save our democratic government. That's the
Mm-hmm.
first thing that I think that is more important. And then there are things that he's talking about to engage young voters, and some things that he has done already. And I think, in reference to some of the accomplishments that have been made under this administration, need to be, and a lot of some were bipartisan, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And we do work with bipartisan groups.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like trying to attach that to the issue that a
Mm-hmm.
person had, which is foremost on their minds. Like Wanda said, what we have to do is get to that person where that concern is and
Mm-hmm.
where that issue is, whether it's male or female.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can connect that dot to, your having your voice heard through voting, through
Mm-hmm.
getting to this representative, whether it's at your local level, the state level, federal level, that those are the persons who are making the decisions that affect you.
Right.
I think we got to connect the dots, but we have to get to the core issue
Right.
that the person is concerned about.
So what I like to do a lot of times is look at what's out there and see how we can expand. So obviously, I don't know if you guys know, Cornell West is running for president, right?
Yes.
All
Mhm.
right. Okay, nobody looks excited, but overall, he has a dynamic platform. Now, is it everything is good? I don't know. But there are some things that's clear that's been issues within the black community for a long time. Um, so, have anybody seen his platform?
I have not.
Ms. Mosley or Dr. Harris, have you seen it?
I haven't either. Uh,
No.
I
Okay.
haven't paid much attention to his platform.
Mm-hmm.
However, he's entitled to it, and there are some people who are following him. However, I think what we have to the the resolution that we have to come to is that we have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a serious, very serious, and it's a critical problem that we are facing, and we need to put our hands on the problem. There are so many issues that affect people.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, a lot of our young people um, are not concerned about the voting unless it's something that's affecting them. So we have to come back home, and we have to decide that we are going to touch everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Women's reproductive rights is on that ballot.
That's right.
And I'm telling you that it is so on the ballot that if all the women just stood up together and say, this is what we're going to do, we would be very successful. And that's what we're aiming to do. The
Mm-hmm.
young people are watching us. They are trying to figure it all out. Why do they want us to do this? What is it? What is in it for us? Well, the student loan debt is in it for them. They're worried about how they're going to live and how their parents are going to pay for their education. And so many people have gotten that money, and some are wondering why they haven't gotten it. So I think the president can boost the morale of some of those people, and try to figure something out like he's already done. But there is so much more to do.
Mm-hmm.
And in our country today, being my background is a teacher principal. And I taught history, but I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. I've never seen the rhetoric that I see now, and a constitution that is being dismantled to where one branch of government may be more powerful than the other. And the voters matter here. And we
Mhm.
need to help them understand how powerful their votes are. We need to
Mhm.
come, we need to meet them in the middle and listen to them, listen carefully to them, and find out what is important to you. What are some of the things that you would love to see happen in your family? What are some of the things that you would love to see happen in our country? What needs to be changed to make it a better country? And like Shirley was saying, at this point, and she didn't say it exactly like this, but I'm going to say this, in this country, we have to be very careful of where we are because a lot of people don't understand the difference between a democracy and an autocracy. And until people learn and understand the rhetoric that is going on and how we need to come together to put a face to what is going on and galvanize again to get our people to the polls on November 5th or before if they're voting early. But we've got to change the narrative and bring the issues that people are really and truly concerned with to the table. And we need to work on those.
Oh, that's awesome. We're getting ready to have a commercial break in about 20 seconds. I love what you said, Dr. Harris. There is all about, Mrs. Mosley said the same thing, just listening and trying to understand what the issues are and being able to hit it right there and know that we are doing what the people want. Is all about the people. So we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Katie Brewington and I'm running for Magistrate Court Judge. Magistrate Court is often called the People's Court because people represent themselves or are pro se litigants. Magistrate Court handles civil claims up to $15,000, dispossessory proceedings, pre-warrant applications, and good behavior bonds. I'm a great candidate for judge because I have the experience, compassion, and drive to get the job done. I have been a probation officer, a criminal defense attorney, a solicitor, and a municipal court judge, and I will take all of that experience to get the job done. So remember, vote Katie Brewington, May 21st, for Magistrate.
Okay, we're back. Okay, so I think I want to ask this question to Mrs. Mosley. So again, I'm an organizer. I'm on the ground most of the time, and I'm talking to the people. And one of the things that I hear each election always that people that are not wanting to vote or have lost their hope in voting will say that okay, well the hood is the same all through all these presidents. Like I don't see any change in the hood. So how would you handle somebody that addresses you in that way?
First and foremost, I am going to agree. Because
Okay.
that's true, right? Have we seen change in the minimum wage? No. Have we seen, the changes with the environmental justice issues? No. Have we seen our light bills go down? No. Have we seen issues with Is our drinking water getting cleaner? Is it safer? No. So I would agree with that. Like I said before, the last thing you want to do is to try to tell somebody who says to you A, B, and C are important. You don't want to acknowledge A, B, and C. You have lost them. The conversation is over. They are
Right.
not engaged with you because you have not affirmed what they said was important.
Right.
And in that particular instance, those things that you mentioned and those things that I followed up with is absolutely true. So again, we have got to, as organizers, not find ourselves in a position where we don't mess around and find out, right? Because if you come to knocking on somebody's door telling them everything is better, you don't know anything about them, well, that's not necessarily true. So again, that's why the listening part is so important. And so in terms of how it is that I talk with folks and try to bring them into, again, this thing called civic engagement. I like to create a story, create a narrative that would relate to them. So, for example, dealing with young people, when you go into community, one of the first things that I ask the young people is, what do they do for fun? Y'all go outside, y'all like to play basketball, what y'all do? And 9.999 times out of 10, a young Black person is going to say, yeah, I play basketball. So then I ask them, well, how are the basketball courts in this community? Are they in good shape? Do you have a lot of places to go? Are there enough gyms? Most of the time, they will say no, or we could use nicer basketball courts. And then I explain to them, well, then I ask them this question, actually. I say, what if I tell you, if you and all your homies, all your crew, all the people who follow you on Instagram and TikTok and whatnot, if y'all all got together, y'all both could create a situation where you have new basketball courts with lights and nice backboards and rims and all of that. And they go, what? By voting? Yes, by voting. Because the basketball courts, the soccer fields, the baseball fields, all of that comes from Park and Rec, right? Your Park and Rec. Who controls the budget? Your city council. And I tell them a city council race is usually, won or lost by 10, 20 votes. It only takes like a couple hundred votes in most cities to change a city council seat. And they just kind of stop and they go, wow, so we could just get some new basketball courts by voting. Absolutely, you could. And this is how we can make this happen. So I think, again, if you break it down, read the room, right? Know who you're talking to. Break it down to what's important to them. You see a young mother with children, start talking about education. Start talking about early childhood education, pre-K. Talk about the fact that child care in the state is not regulated. And talk about the elected officials and people who affect that thing that is important to that person who you are having a conversation with.
Okay. That was a very informative answer. I love it. Thank you. What about you, Mrs. James? Like, do you I guess I want to get back. I want to get back to Cornel West. Nobody's seeing his platform. Obviously we're not going to vote. He's not going to win. But he does have some good things, and I like, for one of them is reparations to address the unpaid debt to Black U.S. residents. Last time we asked Biden about student loan debt, some of it got paid, some of it didn't. So could it be a bigger ask? All these different things that we've been talking about, could it be a bigger ask to strengthen the platform? How do we get that bigger ask? Right now they're fueling up all the different campaign offices and all of that. So I'm, and this is from my own good as well, because I deal with the people, so how do we get to ask for these things? If anyone can answer that.
Well, again, in reference to asking for these things, it kind of goes back to what Wanda was saying too, is helping persons. Well, we got to listen, and then sometimes based on the conversations that we have, we can help a person or a group to kind of put the ask in a phrase or in a way that encompasses everything, not everything, but the most important things that they want. Then once you put that ask together in reference to paraphrasing or composing it and helping them to buy in, well, is this what you're saying? Is this the message that we need to take?
Okay.
Okay.
And so that is, so is that done? And because I've never seen that part, I
Mhm.
usually I come in, there's already platforms laid out. I don't really see them really get updated, and I'm just kind of knowing that at this point, Democrats need to kind of update that platform and just trying to
Mhm.
understand how to get it updated. Especially if you have the people power behind you.
Yeah,
So
I think it's like trying to let the people help you put the message together. You know,
It exactly, right? It's not
let the
hard.
people help you
That's the
put it
cheat sheet,
together.
right? That's the cheat sheet. Just go by
okay,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
yeah, the people are the power.
The people
Okay,
in power. So I mean, we have to help the people, help our people to understand that we are the power.
Hmm.
You know,
right. So
and you get these. I mean, there's so many obstacles that are put in our way, and I
okay.
think we have to help them understand too what these obstacles are. Again, it goes back to our power as voters and putting the right people in the position to make the decisions. Because I mean, when I see what's happening in the state legislature of Georgia this week, I mean, I don't know how to say it. Well, I'm very upset. Okay, I'm very upset. Um, One of the newest bills um, that's on the floor, and then it's already passed through committee, and it will probably be voted in, is House Bill 976. And we had a little campaign going yesterday, and our sorors were out. We were sending out emails and all of that to vote no, on that particular legislation. But it's doing some things like um, something that's it's ludicrous, I would say, as for our homeless, for instance, persons who don't have a residence.
Yes,
Okay, a lot of the homeless persons either use a P.O. box, or they use a church, or they use a shelter as their address.
mm-hmm.
What this bill will say is that a homeless person or a person who does not have a residence has to have their mail sent to the Board of Registrar's office.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Right here in Chatham County, that's on Eisenhower Drive.
Mm-hmm.
It puts the burden on the person, first of all,
Mm-hmm.
to have to change, because some persons are, some are veterans that are out there, they have to change, go through the process of changing an address. It's also forcing them to find some kind of means or transportation, or they may have to walk from wherever it is to get to Eisenhower Drive to get their mail,
Mm-hmm.
to get it every day. Then there's the burden that's on the Board of Registrars. They don't have staff to do everything that this bill is requiring. And not only that, this bill is giving more privilege and more leeway to persons who can challenge voter status. Do
Mm.
you know that you can challenge a voter status on the day of voting?
Really?
Yes, in the state, this bill will allow that. And then what has to happen is that the voter has to be notified within 10 days of the time that your vote is challenged. So if
Mm-hmm.
they challenge me on November 5th, and the Board of Registrar still has to notify me
Mm-hmm.
within 10 days, then my vote's not counting. There are so many things and obstacles that are being put in our way now
Mm-hmm.
to keep the vote, to keep our vote, to keep the power of our vote. And they're doing it in the battleground states. And of course, Georgia
Mm-hmm.
is one, because there's a special group now from the far right. That's their mission.
Mm-hmm.
And even in reference to the list that they're using, some of it with AI now, they can make up names.
Yeah. AI is something else. Yes.
AI is something else, but they can challenge thousands of voters' status. So we have to. Another thing is that even for registered voters, we are trying to make sure that we have the message out every week, every day. Check your voting status.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the possibility of your being purged, and based on the way that these bills are being put together, and it's just putting more and more unnecessary, and I call it just kind of ridiculous burden on our board of registrar staff. So that means
Real quick, in case somebody don't know, how do you check your voter status? Just in case somebody's watching that want to know.
Oh, okay. You can go on the on your My Voter page, and you can check it that way. You can call the board of registrars and ask. Just give them your name, and they may ask you for your birthday, but you can do that. But it's My Voter page at secretaryofstate.georgia.gov.
Okay.
But we just ask that and if you can't do it, somebody can help you. We have voter registration stations set up, and Dr. Harris can tell you we are right there to help a person check their voting status if they don't have the means to do it themselves. We do it in the churches, but that's something that we ask people to do every 2 weeks. Really. But when you look at all of these bills, now there's a possibility that paper ballots, according to one of these bills, can be used. They're asking for a watermark to be placed on every ballot. I mean, all these kinds of things, in my opinion, that will slow down and interrupt the work that the board of registrars has to do. And the state is not providing any kind of financial assistance to help with that. And then it's putting the voter in another kind of position, because now you're telling me, if I get this letter, are you trying to say that there's something wrong with me?
Right.
What is it that I've done? Why you're doing this? Why are you challenging me?
Right.
And persons can be challenged. There's more leeway in another one of the bills that even poll watchers. Now, remember, poll watchers are different from poll workers. A poll watcher is usually a volunteer.
Okay.
And a lot of times the parties will allow that person to poll watch for them. Okay. The poll watchers can have more leeway, let's say, to access polling places. They can access advanced polling locations. They can be in tabulation centers where you're tabulating the vote as well as the absentee ballots, where they're being, even when they have to be adjudicated, So it's putting that group, in my opinion, so many of them may be around. It's like an intimidating kind of situation as far as I'm concerned, So it's just, it's like when you look at the bills that are being passed and that are being proposed in the battleground states, most of them really are reacting to all of the misinformation and the lies based on the 2020 election. And they are actually enforcing that misinformation and those lies through legislation. So that's some of the information that we just kind of need to share.
Okay.
So that persons understand that now, if we had the persons in place who really can make the kinds of decisions, that some of these bills can be, well, they won't pass because you have a majority of persons, reality and who understand what our rights and privileges are as a people and what our power is as a people. So we have to just connect all of the dots. You do like Wanda said, you start with the issue that's important to them, and then you just have to build and build and build and help connect the dots so they understand how government works. That's basically what it is. They stopped teaching civics in the schools a long time ago, and I think that was intentional.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
I really do. You can talk to Dr. Harris about that because she was in the school system.
Please chime in, Dr. Harris. Please chime in.
Yes, I have to. As a history teacher, I have never, in all of my years, witnessed anything that is happening right now, and we just need to wake up. I'm just going to be very honest with you. We're asleep. We have to wake up. We have to wake our people up, and we have to help them to understand. Um, we were talking about the young people a little bit ago. Um, we have to go to the basketball games, and we have
Mhm.
to go to the football games,
Mhm.
and we have to go to the school board meetings, and we have to meet them, and we have to continue to educate them. Education does not just take place in the classroom. Education can take place in so many different places.
Mhm.
And we have to understand that if they're not getting what they need in the classroom, then we have to bring the classroom to them.
Mhm.
And we have to help them to understand that this is your right and your privilege to vote. Nobody can take it away from you but you. You need to understand how powerful you are and how powerful your vote is
Mhm.
at this point.
Mhm.
We have to help our young people, not just in high school at 17 and a half years old, and we have been in our high schools and we're going back some more.
Mhm.
It's on the college campuses
Mhm.
where young people are, and they are more interested in homecoming than they are about who's going to be their elected official. So we have to bring that home to them as well, so they can understand this is your life. This is going to be your future.
Mhm.
Who uh, the elected officials are, it's important.
Mhm.
And it's so important at this point, everybody should see it.
Mhm.
It's a dysfunctional, I hope I can say this, dysfunctional House of Representatives, and I'm just going to say that. It's so dysfunctional. I've never seen anything like it in my lifetime. And the students really don't get the privilege of knowing why it is the way it is or how it is, because of the rhetoric that's going on, that they don't want them to learn about history and what
Right.
is going on. And we need people who are in place to change this whole narrative, because our children aren't learning anything about their history.
Mhm.
What they're learning is something that some people want them to know, and what they don't want them to know about.
Mhm.
But the world is cultural at this point. It is a culture of pluralism where you have so many different people who have
Mhm.
to be taught and who have to know and understand and not listen to just anyone, but they need facts about their history. So we need to meet them at any place that we can meet them, not just in the classroom, because the classroom is not the only learning environment that they have. And the sooner that we can do this, the better prepared we will be for this upcoming general election in November. It's critical how we move at this point. I don't think a lot of people understand, care to understand, or want to understand how important this entire vote is going to be in November, and this upcoming election, May 21st. I believe it's
Oh.
May 21st. We have
Mhm.
another election coming up. That's so important as well. And we need to make sure that we are helping people to understand how their vote is their power.
Mhm.
You might not think one vote counts, but one vote, every vote counts.
Oh, yes, it
And
does.
yeah, every vote counts, and we need to help them to understand that this
Okay.
is your future. This future belongs to your children and their children, and it's a cycle. It's a cycle that is continuing with negativity right now.
Mhm.
That's what these young people see, and that's what the adults see. They
Mhm.
see a bunch of negativity, and they don't want to be involved with it, but
Mhm.
they have to be involved and they have to be engaged in it, because they'll be the ones to help make a difference, and they'll be the ones to be the difference. So the voting with purpose, passion, perseverance is what we're pushing for. um, to let them know just how important all of this is. All of this is. Not every news station may tell the full truth, but keep reading, keep understanding, and reach out to someone who can help you to better understand what you don't understand, and
Yes,
help
ma'am.
you to understand that your vote is you. It's you. It's your power. It's everything that you have is your privilege. Go do it.
Yes,
Absolutely.
ma'am. We're about to. We have to take a commercial break, and as soon
Okay.
as we come back from the commercial break, we're going to address what you just said. You said a lot. I guess.
Hello, I'm Richard Coleman, and I'm running for the office of Sheriff of Chatham County. And when I'm elected, I promise to inspect what I expect. Chatham County, it's time for a change, and that change is me, Richard Coleman.
Okay, we're back, and we were just hearing Dr. Harris talk about the need to have the village system active and working, getting people engaged and informing them. We do have Mr. Irwin. He's back, so I don't know if he wants to join in and talk. Has he? Have you been listening in, Mr. Irwin?
Unfortunately, I hadn't been had a chance to listen in, but I'm here now. I'm amongst my three favorite women in Savannah and in Georgia. Well, you up there up north. I can't count
Nobody
you in
never knows
Georgia.
where I'm at. I might be in Georgia.
Yeah, I know, but my women are down here, my sisters. We've been graced to have all three of y'all on the same time, and I'm so glad that y'all could make it. I'm sorry I couldn't be here, but medical issues took precedence. But we got the upcoming elections coming, and we are a nonpartisan organization, and we have to talk to everybody. So we have to make sure that our message is clear, and that we are nonpartisan, and that we are out here trying to make a difference. But we need to let everybody know that hey, this next election is going to be very important if we want to keep America America. Miss Wanda, what you got to say about that?
So, good morning, Brother Jerome. I do hope that you are feeling well. So, sending you all the healing prayers. I mean, look, I'm gonna sound like a broken record. I guess I can keep the glasses off because I can't have see anyway. I'm gonna sound like a broken record. I'm gonna keep saying the same thing over and over again. The way that we bring more people into this space, into this thing called civic engagement, which includes voting and other things, is to hear what is important to them in their community, in their family, in their neighborhood. And once we do that, then we can begin to connect the dots for them so that they are now invested, they feel empowered, and they want to be involved in this work. I think the other thing that we always have to take into consideration when we're going into communities and we're talking to folks, especially people who have been labeled as quote unquote low propensity voters, right? Which means that they don't vote in every election. We have to understand and remember why. There are so many reasons. We know that Georgia, in many ways, is the epicenter, ground zero for voter suppression. Then you layer on top of that the fact that we don't have a livable wage. hello, my labor brother over here, right? So if someone is only making $8, $12 an hour, they cannot afford to wait in line 6 or 8 hours to vote. If the time that you spend in line waiting to vote is close to how much you make an hour, that's a problem. So with that in mind, we cannot shame people. We cannot call people out. We must call people in and tell them and let them know that we understand the struggle. We are in the struggle with them. But as one of the sisters said earlier, when we come together and when we vote as a voting bloc, Black people will decide each and every election in this state, in your county, in your city, and in just about every place in America. And yes, the presidential election hangs in the balance of what Black voters can do. But if we are our own worst enemy, if we come in talking to our people like they crazy, like they don't care, like they don't know, then we gonna mess around and find out that they do know, they do care, they do understand, but for the fact that they can't get time off, there's no bus running, they move polling precincts, they change the dates. Sometimes we have Saturday voting, sometimes we don't. Sometimes there's Sunday voting, sometimes there isn't. All of those things combined create the situation that we have the low voter turnout. So we've got to understand and know how it is that we talk to our folks and bring them in and not call them out. We got to stop with this calling folks out and shaming people to get involved. We just have to, y'all. I know I'm preaching to the choir. Preaching to the choir.
I'd like to follow up on something that Wanda said in reference to our persons and our constituents and our neighbors and our colleagues who are, they're working. They're in places where they can't get the time off. They can't. And a lot of our young people, some of them, have their own small businesses. They can't take off. You think about our beauticians and our barbershop owners and things like that. So I think we need to help them to understand the value and the use of an absentee ballot. A lot of times the message in our community, and we think an absentee ballot is only for an elderly person or for somebody who's going to be out of town or for somebody who's disabled. But that absentee ballot can be used by any voter. And if we can concentrate more and get a better message out, even to young people, to our young workers, to those persons who have to depend on public transportation and just can't, they're working for somebody, they may have 2 jobs that they're trying to do in the course of a week. They don't have time, like Wanda said, to go and stand in a line and vote. But if we can help them see the importance of using that absentee ballot, and that it's not just quote unquote for the elderly and for the disabled, that's a means that they can use. And we can even, as organizations, we can help with the postage and all of that kind of thing to make sure that it gets mailed in on time, because they may not even have time to take it to the drop box. Because now when you go to a drop box, you personally as the voter has to be the person to turn it in, unless you are disabled and have a family member or something like that. But I think that that's one of the things that we can push. And in reference to, and we got to go to where they are.
Yes.
We can't just talk the talk, but we got to go and get into places where our constituents are, our young people, our young adults, those who are between the ages of 18 and 35 and even up to 50. We need to go to those places and find those trusted voices in those places and talk with them and see if they can help us with the message as well. Not just us, because if I'm going in for the first time, you don't know who I am, but if I can make acquaintance with whoever the trusted voice is in that place. It could be in, I know we can't do voter registration in the nightclubs, but nothing says that we can't go in there.
But we can catch someone standing outside in that long line waiting to go inside the nightclub. Yes, I remember seeing the folks at Urban League in Atlanta do that in 2020. Them lines down the block, and they had clipboards right there with them.
Right. So
I'm going to ask a dumb question. Why are the lines so long? I've never seen that in Illinois. Why are the Georgia voting lines long with all the technology?
To all the things that we just mentioned, right? So this is intentional. This is part of voter suppression. So we have precincts that don't have power cords. Sometimes they don't have the key to start the machine. Sometimes there's no paper.
Mm.
Sometimes there's no power. We don't have enough poll workers. I mean, we saw what happened to Ms. Ruby and Shay in 2020, how they were persecuted and skewered for
Mhm.
doing their civic duty. All of those things are intentional. They don't get there's
That's why I looked at it. Have to be intentional.
it
Okay.
absolutely is. It's
Yes.
all part of the actual plan, and it is a plan, y'all. I ain't talking like UFO conspiracy. I'm talking about people who sit around and look at the demographics and the numbers, and they see that Black and
Oh
brown,
yeah.
our population numbers are rising, and they literally sit around and think of ways to keep us from voting.
All
Yes,
methodical and systematic. Yes,
yes.
ma'am.
Yes.
Look, I
Yes.
thought you were asking why the lines was long at the club, sis. I was like, what?
I've never been to a club in my life, to be honest. Like, so no, I don't know about that. Mr. Irwin, we did start on time, so we're wrapping it down. We got about 6 minutes, so this is your show. Go for it. But I think he's
You on
talking
mute.
to us. Oh, you on mute, Mr. Irwin.
Mr. Irwin, you're
Okay.
on mute,
Whatever he's saying is good.
but we can't hear it.
Come on, Mr. Jerome, we need to hear you.
He's not
We don't
muted. I
think
think
he's
it's
muted.
just he's not muted.
Might be in a
We
bad-
don't
Sometimes
hear
we,
you. No hearing. So it looks like later we might have to wrap the show up ourselves. I would look at him. He's trying to figure it out. Mr. Irwin, maybe you can go leave out and come back in. Leave out and come back in.
well, he's still talking.
I think he heard me. I'm not sure. Ladies, this has been an honor to be able to talk to you. I'm not a Delta. I'm not anything. Honestly, I'm just me.
It's okay.
But here in East St. Louis, Illinois, the Deltas run everything. So
All right.
so definitely I know some Deltas, a lot of them, and they're all great people. So it's been an honor just talking with you guys and just getting that insight to be able to share with the community. Like Mrs. Mosley said, that it's all about the education of educating these voters to be able to show them that it's necessary for them to vote, and not to give that earned freedom up, because people had to do some work to even get this freedom to vote. So I would like for each one of y'all to just take a couple minutes to just wrap this up. If we go over time, that's fine. But I want to at least give each one of you a couple minutes to wrap up whatever final thought you have. So we can start with Mrs. James, since we started with you first, and then Dr. Harris, and then Mrs. Mosley. You can wrap it up. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to get the message to everyone that, first of all, that there is a coalition of us that work together in Savannah, and we want to get to you, to the people in the places where you have not seen us. Please let us know where that is so that we can get to you and we can have these discussions, and we can have to help you to understand what is happening, because November 5th is critical as to what will happen on the very next day in reference to your rights and your privileges and things that you have enjoyed and taken for granted that might automatically be snapped out of your hands if you don't get the right person in to lead this country, as well as the right persons in the state legislatures, but definitely in the U.S. Congress. The other thing that I want to put on your mind is that as far as our justice system is concerned, judges make a difference in reference to what happens. Just look at what's happening nationally now with the trials that are going on with the former president, and you'll see that depending on who's in that seat, they're supposed to be nonpartisan, but a lot of the judges that we have in place these days are partisan, and we need some justice as well for ourselves and for our people. So there's a lot of connections we got to make with you and help you understand where your power is, and we are willing to come to you. We're willing to come to you.
Okay, it's on you, Dr. Harris.
Well, I don't know that I can top Shirley or Wanda this morning. I really don't, but I am really grateful that we had this opportunity to come on your show and share our thoughts and what and our beliefs. And everyone is different. I have to say that first. Every person is different, and they have their own beliefs about life and what this voting process is all about. However, I think at this point in time, we have to be. I use the "un" word a lot: unbiased, unbossed, and unbought. We have to be all of those things, and we have to come together with capacity, and we have to come together with commitment and whatever capital we can find to get everything we need done. We need to make sure that we're trying to do that. At this point, I think Shirley, I think my sorors have said it all. I want us to really, audience, think about our power and what that power means and what that power is. We are the ones who put our elected officials in office. Now, with the exception of some who think they're supposed to put themselves there and cause a lot of friction, we're the ones who put them in office. And we need to understand and listen to what they have to offer us. It's not just about adults, it's about our young people too, who I try to surround all the time because that's just me. If we don't have the young people on board, and I love, I don't know what gen we might be, but whatever it is, y'all, we got to go back and get that younger gen, Z or P or Q or whatever it is, and bring them on board so we can hear what they're saying. What's important to you? What can we do to help you? Um, let's get together. Let's not do this in a silo. Let's do it together. Let's come together and have a courageous, courageous conversation about the way this country needs to go. We may not be here forever, but young people are going to be here. And they need to know and understand what we're working with at this point. And what we're working with, ladies and Mr. Irvin, if you can hear me, we're working with a crisis situation. A lot of us don't want to admit that. But again, we have to realize that even a crisis in a crisis situation, we can prepare ourselves to move forward and do what needs to be done for the people, by the people, and of the people. And that's what our government should be standing on, not on their own principles, but on the principles of the United States Constitution and the preamble to the Constitution. We got to go backwards and come forward with what is relevant to what is happening today. Thank you.
I like that. I think
Last,
you,
last but not least, Mrs. Mosley.
yeah, no, I love that. And I'll just build on what Miss said. I mean, look, we are in
Mr. Irwin, can you hit your mute? Can you mute yourself? Thank you. I'm
we are in
sorry.
a time, no, it's okay. We are in a time and a place and a situation where democracy itself is hanging on the balance. It is on life support. We all know that. Most of the folks in our circle know that. But I don't think a lot of younger folks understand that and all the repercussions that come with that. And that's okay because, when I was one of the younger folks, I wouldn't have understood that either. But if someone had come into my community or come to my school and listened to some of the things that I wanted to hear about, things that were important to me, then they would have had a better chance to get me to participate in democracy and to come out to vote. And then over time, everybody's learning curve goes up and they start to realize and understand, those real top level issues about democracy. But right now, folks are just struggling to pay their bills. They're just struggling to put food on the table. They're trying to understand how
Exactly.
this old raggedy car might not get them to the two jobs that they got to
Yes.
work to have
Yes.
all those other things happen. So it
Yes.
was mentioned earlier, meeting people where they are, understanding what's important to them right now, and then maybe hit them with the other stuff later. We need to talk about voting as an investment, right? So if you put $100 in the bank, it's not going to turn into $200 by next week. It's not going to turn into $200 by the end of the year. It's the same with voting. You vote this one time, you might not see that immediate change that you wanted within the next month or two, but you have to continue to invest in voting. Just like you got to continue to put money in the bank. And so I think if we explain that this is a long-term game that we're playing and that we have to continue to do it regularly, couple that with, again, meeting people where they are, talking to young people about the livable wage, about student debt, listening and understanding what they had to say about climate change, talking to the brothers under the shade tree. Go holler at the sisters at the beauty shop, the brothers at the beauty salon. That's where I'll be this Easter weekend, out talking to folks in those places. So, because we know once we can bring everybody together, we saw what happened in Georgia in 2020. And then we had the nerve to turn around and do it again in 2021. And so that blueprint is out there about bringing our folks in, listening and hearing. And I want everybody to replicate that so that we can start to build this force, and that Black voters, Black people, we can flex our collective muscle and start to make the change that everybody will benefit from, not just Black folks. So thank you again for this time. This is an honor, and I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. This has been a very fruitful conversation. Mr. Irwin, can you come in now? Would you like to close us out?
I hope I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, we want to thank all of y'all beautiful ladies for being here this morning. I know that y'all educated people this morning because the end of the conversation was great. Only thing I want to say is that we got to keep fighting. We've got, like you said earlier, Wanda, we've got to meet people where they are. Miss James said it. Miss Harris said it. We got to meet them where they are. We've got to educate and do what we have to do to get these people to the poll. If we go around carrying absentee ballots, then we have to do that. But we've got to get them to the polls. We got to let them know that their vote is important. Y'all, we want to thank y'all for being here with us. I know it's our time is up, but we got to get out of here. I will talk to all of y'all later. Be blessed. And we'll see all of y'all next week, next Tuesday morning, right here, right back at the Vulnerable Community, right here in Savannah, Georgia. Talk to you later. Y'all be blessed now. Bye.
Bye.
I like that.